listening to the Rude Horror Podcast with your host, Marcus Rude.
Hello, everybody. You're listening and watching the Rude Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Rude, and today's guests are actors Elsie Holt and Damian Maffei. Welcome, guys. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Doing good, my man.
Awesome. Good to hear. So, you guys are working on a newer movie, and it's a New Year's Eve or like New Year's Day slasher type movie. What possessed you guys to want to do a New Year's holiday sort of slasher? Because I think there's only a couple that are ever made. So do you guys happen to want to add to that type of subgenre, or was it just a spare the moment type thing?
It is a New Year's Eve movie, yes. The entire story takes place on New Year's Eve. So, in terms of the holiday setting, Damian really was the one who suggested doing it on New Year's. I came up with the idea of doing a slasher film set around a scavenger hunt, which is something I had banging around in my head for a long time, just as an interesting idea of doing it. And I don't think there are a multitude of movies that have that as sort of the hook. And so Damian and I had worked on a number of things, developing it, trying to do something together. And Damian was working on this whole other kind of project. And, I mentioned to him the idea of doing a scavenger hunt slasher film. And Damian was like, could we set it on New Year's Eve? Since Damian is here, he can correct me, and will, I'm sure, if I'm wrong about any of this.
Hi, Elsie. Thanks. No, you're completely wrong. No. He's right. I was driving down Congress Street in Portland, Maine it was on New Year's Eve, and it's a very odd, kind of bizarre little city. It has a lot of personality, and down Congress Street, which is kind of it's downtown Portland, they have all these lights that all the business, they're all out there up and down the street, and they're quite it's at night it's quite a visual. It's really beautiful, and they're holiday lights, so not Christmas, but definitely in the season. And I was like, wow, this would be like a really cool, nice, like visual for the kind of the beginning of a movie that doesn't end so beautifully. And we were talking about doing that, and I came back and said, I'm kind of feeling like this New Year's Eve thing. And what was important to me was that it not be the gimmick. Like the whole reason the movie exists not be that it's New Year's Eve, not be this holiday, slasher Arbor Day or, Memorial Day or Halloween. But it was kind of a nice thing to encase it in. And it fit with this whole kind of the time aspect, the time's up aspect that we were kind of playing with. Father Time is a bit, is a New Year's Eve kind of iconic imagery, the Father Time of Baby New Year. So all that kind of stuff kind of came together. And that's how New Year's Eve, it landed on there. And there aren't, there's Terror Train, which is, a good New Year's Eve slasher entry. That's really it for good New Year's Eve entries at all. There's New Year's Evil, which I do have the great shirt of, but that's not so good. It's also not a slasher movie.
That's right. Yeah, and that was another thing. Trying to make sure people knew it wasn't a gimmicky Because you know, in the 80s, you went through that after Friday the 13th, after Halloween, you went through that whole slew of films that were all set on some sort of a holiday, and it just went on ad nauseum. And after a while, you get the idea, well, this is obviously just trying to cash in on the idea that Halloween was set on a holiday, and so let's just see how many go through the calendar and just arbitrarily set our horror film on some holiday sometime. And so we wanted to make it kind of integral to the film, to Time's Up, the film, that it be set on New Year's. And something I think that Damian and I both realized was just how few people knew about Father Time and Baby New Year. I mean, we actually had to go through and sort of poll people to see how many people understood that sort of element of the New Year's mythology. Marcus, were you familiar with the Father Time?
Yeah, I knew about Father Time, but it's not really something that like I really looked into per se. It's just kind of one of those things that you hear over time of just even like I don't know, I wouldn't say like older people, but I mean it's sort of an older sort of thing. I don't know. But
that was totally my fault. Sorry.
But
well,
no.
Time's Up is going to bring Father Time into the next generation's consciousness. That's our goal.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so,
Father Time awareness is what we're trying to spread.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know, and it's cool that you're bringing back something that's been around a while, but you know, like the newer generations probably don't know who Father Time is or what Father Time is.
The older generations seem to not know who Father Time is. And you know, he's I bleeped out that I kind of lost you there for a moment. So I don't know if you talked about the less celebrated classic Rudolph Shiny New Year, which is a sequel to Rudolph the Red-Nosed, where Rudolph and Father Time go to rescue Baby New Year. That's a real thing.
No, we did not hit on that, Damian.
You didn't talk about that in the 20 seconds that I was gone?
We failed to do that, but we have now. And trust me, the whole thing about time, the whole
I
thing.
got kids too, man. It's all right.
Sorry about that,
I just heard them out in the hall, so maybe if you're watching this podcast, you can see my face like,
right.
You know, just trying to maintain my composure, but I hear them encroaching and ready to invade, and I'm like, stop them. Someone stop them. So
right. Yeah, I apologize if you can hear my daughter crying in the background.
Makes me feel better.
No, it's fine. But yeah, what I was saying was this is definitely the people's ignorance of Father Time is something we address in the movie. I mean, it's not, you know, once we found that out, it's not something we could ignore. So it's definitely addressed in Time's Up.
Awesome. And so watching the teaser trailer for the Indiegogo campaign, Damian has a holiday sweater on. Is that going to kind of touch up on Christmas a little bit and then into New Year's, or is it just kind of cut the Christmas part out of it entirely?
The sweater, if we're being completely honest, I was just going through. See, now it hasn't happened for a while, but like when you do like serious indie films, like back in the day, you know, it'd be like, we'd love you for this role. Bring a whole bunch of wardrobe options. Like you got to bring your own wardrobe to these movies. And you know, that's fine. But like, unless my character is wearing like a Creature from Black Lake shirt, then I never have the clothing for the character I'm playing. Like I have clothing, you know, I have options for like horror fan guy. You know, I don't have, you know, like the polo or whatever. I have a few, you know, normal options. And like the Snowflake Sweater was one of my normal options. And that scene, you know, we were just patching things together using whatever resources we had. So that sweater was like one of the few options I had for that character. So that's how that sweater came to be. Of course, it took a life of its own.
I do remember that our director, Corey Norman, was saying, so, Damian, do you have any khaki slacks?
Yeah.
And I was like, no. Barren khaki slacks. No way. Yeah, Damian is very much, what would you call your style, Damian, other than horror guy?
T-shirt jeans person?
Absolutely.
T-shirt.
So if the character doesn't wear t-shirt, jeans, or shorts, possibly shorts, Damian.
I do have a pair of shorts.
Yes.
I have a pair of sweatpants.
Yeah.
And then hoodies and hats. My wife, she's been trying to push me along and kind of help me grow over the years. It's not taken too well. I do have a Russ Thorn pocket T-shirt from Slumber Party Massacre. I think that's kind of nice. Like for maybe a more formal setting.
You should go
suits. I mean, if you can just skip right to suit, then. But my character in the movie, it's you gotta wear what you gotta wear. But also, I mean, he's a he's a physical education teacher or gym teacher, as we used to call them, and a coach. So well, what is he gonna wear to a holiday party? He's not gonna wear a suit.
I love the physical education too. It's like the George Carlin thing. You know how he used to joke that all the terms for things get longer? Like you're not a gym coach anymore. You're just a physical education teacher.
I have to plug this thing in. Sorry.
He just vanishes. And then it's like the hologram in Quantum Leap. Damian is like Al with Piney at his back. For those of you who don't know, Piney there in Damian's backdrop is the mascot of Pine Falls High School, which is the high school in Time's Up. So it all ties together. Now, what this backdrop is behind me, I have no idea.
The fighting pine cones.
This doesn't tie into anything. This is just something I randomly chose from Skype's list.
The state flower of Maine, which is where we're filming this movie, is the pine cone.
Oh, really?
Now, you would be like, pine cone's a flower? I don't know. But
someone asked me on the Indiegogo campaign when they saw the acrylic pens that we're offering, they said, so is Groot in this movie? Like, no, that's not Groot. It's Piney. It's a pine cone.
I didn't, he's a little Grooty. Maybe, Grooty is kind of a pine cone. Maybe, maybe that's it.
I am Piney.
Anyway.
Yeah. Or you guys could have your own Guardians of the Galaxy type character in this film, just to kind of throw a different twist to the horror genre.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a little, kind of an ego aspect going. Ego. That's
no
the
shit.
Yeah. And if you can get
that's the Kurt Russell character from people who are only fans of the movie.
Yes, from part 2.
Yes.
Ego, the living planet.
Right. So you guys sort of mentioned the Indiegogo campaign. So this film is like a crowdfunding type movie. Could you tell us about the campaign?
Yeah. I mean, it's gone extraordinarily well. We're at the end of the first week at the time of this recording, and we're already more than halfway to the goal. The Indiegogo campaign really, I think it was conceived by Damian and I just as a way of giving people perks and options that you're not going to find on any other Indiegogo. And coming from our background as actors, the films we've done, also some of the other people who are involved in this, Felissa Rose, we're announcing a new cast member today. Damian, should we say?
It might actually be up now. So let me see something here.
Well, I mean, Marcus, this is not going to air immediately, right?
Right.
Okay, then delete that.
The audio version, I'll probably work on it over the weekend. Okay. So, we can possibly might have it up like towards the end of the weekend. The video, I'm not sure yet.
We can definitely say that Dave Sheridan has also joined the cast from Scary Movie and a multitude of other things. Felissa, as most of you are.
Devil's Rejects.
That's exactly right.
Holt.
Felissa, as everybody knows, Felissa from Sleepaway Camp, and a multitude of other things as well, including some of the films Damian just mentioned.
Victor Crowley.
Go through the list again. And so all of us have sort of brought things to the table with the Indiegogo that are unique. And many times they're one-of-a-kind exclusive things. Articles of clothing, for instance, undergarments. There are all kinds of crazy things that we can bring in from our experiences in film.
Undergarments.
There are undergarments.
List an undergarment today, and it sold within whatever it was. It was like, because I gotta post. If I'm posting one thing, I gotta post it 8 different places. So it's got to go on the Indiegogo page, the updates, and then the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Then Damian's got to share it, and then so by the time I was done with writing the first update on Indiegogo, it had sold, and I was like, should I rewrite what I'm writing? But I didn't.
Wow. When I seen you put your sweater up on the Indiegogo campaign, and that seemed like it just sold like
about 35 seconds, which means
holy
it was
crap.
cheap. I didn't even give pause to the guy that, that guy, he bought a bunch of stuff, and he bought my Man in the Mask jacket from Strangers. So he's like making a
shrine.
A Damian shrine.
I can't imagine a shrine to me. Maybe a shrine. I don't know. Maybe the sweater might look nice under the jacket.
Many people could imagine a shrine to you, my good sir.
You don't mean that, and that's okay.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Man in the Mask jacket, because that was an immediate sell too. But Damian also sold the robes that he wore as the Devil in Haunt. I mean, there's a lot and the pitchfork.
Yeah, and that was great because like there's a pitchfork involved, like a legitimate pitchfork. It's real. So I didn't want to have to deal with the shipping for that internationally. So I listed it as United States only. And then when I woke up that morning, I had seen that someone from Germany had purchased it. So I was like, oh man, come on. But then I was getting messages, he was saying I'll pay whatever the shipping is. And, I got a guy who, I was like, whoa, hold on. So he was really enthusiastic about it. So it's worth it to get it to him because he's like super pumped about having the pitchfork and the robes. And those are the kind of places I wanted these things to go to. I mean, I'm a big horror movie fan and I have stuff from other movies, but like the stuff from the movies I'm in, I don't have them out or up. So if they can go to a nice home, that's great.
That's awesome, man.
And
that's awesome that you can part with, items from the movies you've been in that, would hold some type of sentimental value.
Yeah, I totally get it, having that stuff.
I so wished that I could have acquired the costume I wore in You're Next. I mean, that would have been great. I tried to, and what I immediately discovered through Mike Strain, who was the effects guy on that movie, was that immediately after we wrapped You're Next, they put all the stuff, the props and the wardrobe into storage, and someone broke into the storage and stole almost everything.
Yeah.
So my outfit is out there somewhere. I wish it was in my closet so I could be offering it up for Time's Up's Indiegogo campaign, but unfortunately, it's floating around out there somewhere. So
someone's probably worn it, cosplay. Too.
They probably have. That I may have gone to a convention and some guy walked up to me wearing my actual wardrobe and just not known it. I mean, it's entirely possible because I do come across lamb masks often when I go to these conventions. But yeah, it kind of sucks, man. I would love to have offered that kind of stuff. Damian was smart though. Damian just gets all this stuff and runs with it. I should have grabbed it.
I got people. Well, what the thing is there is that when I'm on a set, I'm just so pleasant and friendly and I just treat everyone with the utmost, respect, knowing that afterwards they'll come through for me. So, I'm like, just give it to me. No, but really, that was on Strangers and Haunt. A good friend of mine was line producer, executive producer on those movies. So, and those movies shot in Ohio, Kentucky, and he lives there. So when it came time to cleaning out those storage areas, he went down there with a few people, and he was like, "Oh, Damian's suit, and this and that." Now, if I do a movie with him, I know when that stuff is happening. So I'm like, grab my shit, send my shit.
That's awesome, man.
That's one of the things that you are blown away by when you do these campaigns and stuff, is how much people love screen use stuff. It's pretty amazing. I just did a film. I just shot a film in Austin, Texas, called Butcher's Bluff. And when I wrapped, like the director and everybody grabbed every piece of wardrobe that I had that had blood on it. And we're like, well, if we ever need to do, more fun sort of a campaign, we're going to sell this stuff. And I'm like, really? You want my bloody pants? And he was like, yeah. So he got everything that I wore in that movie,
Especially if it has blood on it.
Yeah. Blood and guts. Yeah. So,
That's
it's pretty.
The sweater in the campaign scene. I was like, the guy with the hammer. I was like, bleed this way. You bleed more on here. You got to get some, rub it up against them.
Yeah.
Increase in value.
Yeah. Right. I was gonna say it increases the value of when you want to go sell it.
That's right. But yeah, it's one of those weird things. Did you guys ever hear the story about Brent Spiner when they were doing Star Trek, talking about screen use stuff? When the show finally ended, because Star Trek Next Generation went on for 10 years or something, 8 or 9 years. And when they were leaving, I guess Brent Spiner was like, well, can I have, to the costume department, can I have one of my wardrobes, one of my uniforms? And the guy was like, no, but you can buy one. And it's like, Spiner had been on this show for 9 years, right? Playing this Data character that everybody loved. And here he was asking for one uniform, and they were like, property of Paramount, you can buy it from us.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So that's why I say
that's pretty awesome.
If you can just grab it and run with it, grab it and run with it.
That's pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah, I need to get my it's probably gone. I didn't make a move for anything with Wrong Turn, and it's all gone now. I had a thing I wore that though that was like 50 pounds. So, I don't know if I want that. Too heavy.
Shipping.
Too sharp.
Yeah.
Right. Got to get the light stuff for shipping.
Yeah. That movie has to come out first for anyone to care about it.
Yeah, I haven't really heard much about that one yet. I mean, I know that you're in it, but that's about all I know about it.
It's got a cool cast. I'm like middle of the pack on that thing. That's another movie that was just kind of in limbo because of viruses and such. So
for sure.
I don't know, I get 50 messages every day on Instagram from people in Brazil, all over Latin America. And now the Philippines has shown up, and they're like, we too care about Wrong Turn and demand you tell us when the trailer is. So, and that's it. I just get, when is Wrong Turn, Road to Terror 7, please tell me when, the trailer's coming out. And I don't have any information for them. But yeah, I mean, they're pumped about it. The Wrong Turn franchise is huge over there. And we always, while we were making it, always did wonder who was watching these movies. Because it was no one I knew.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I remember I was in this horrible film that was like a Wrong Turn, straight Wrong Turn ripoff. It was like if Wrong Turn met Jean-Claude Van Damme, and not a good movie of his from like the mid-90s, it would have been this movie that I was in. So yeah, I mean, if people are... if people are doing horrible sort of knockoffs of it, it's pretty popular.
The first one, though, right? I mean, not the other ones.
What are you talking about?
Like they're knocking off the first one.
Yeah, they were knocking off the first one, basically. Yeah. I mean, some of the other ones, I remember Doug Bradley. I've done multitude of conventions with Doug, and he was talking about, he did one of those Wrong Turn movies, and he was talking about how he got a concussion doing that thing because this actress, he was in a jail cell, and this actress grabbed him and just slammed him up against these bars, and the back of his head bounced off these bars. And Doug is he's no spring chicken. He's an older guy. He can't be smacking his head up against bars. And so she was not gentle with him. I have not seen that Wrong Turn movie. I think it was actually filmed in Europe. I think some of these were filmed in Europe, these sequels. So that might go to what Damian was saying about how popular they are overseas. It'll be really interesting, though, to see what's going on with the release of films now. The first really huge one just got released on Friday, I guess the week that we're recording this, and that was Tenet, Chris Nolan's new movie. Mm-hmm. So that'll be a good testing ground, I think, for theatrical releases. Because I think Tenet is being released solely theatrical, not like Bill and Ted, where it was theatrical and digital. Which is kind of muddled. You can't really, it's hard to say the gross on that, I guess, because what is theatrical side and what's the digital side, and will the studio release the difference? I think Tenet is purely theatrical. So it'll be really interesting to see how many people turn out. It'll be a first kind of step toward understanding what we're going to do with theatrical films from now on.
Right. And sort of like, movie theaters, a lot of them aren't open, but like the drive-ins are sort of making a comeback. So, I mean, that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Which is great for horror.
By me, that have, we've been going to for years. And it's great. I enjoy that. But only recently have they started putting out like they showed Night of the Living Dead there. They do like these midnight movies now, and so like they showed Pieces last week. Like what? Like where am I? What's happening? I'm like, Pieces is sleazy trash, but like I'll go to the drive-in to see that. And like Phantasm, they had Evil Dead 2, they had The Beyond there. And like talking about a drive-in in Maine.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's it's been great. It's been great. And they actually contacted me about Haunt in October. So I'm hoping that's a thing. But I don't know.
That's the thing about, drive-ins and horror. They go so well together because when you think of all the old horror films, they were drive-in movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I remember my uncle telling me that he went to see that at a drive-in back in 1974, 75. Yeah. So I think the drive-in has a great long-standing marriage to horror films. So it's great for fans like us, of that genre. It'll be interesting to see how other films play. I mean, you don't necessarily think of romantic comedies when you think of going to the drive-in. I think it'll be interesting also to see if we do more drive-ins. I do not have a drive-in near me, sadly. But if that becomes more of a thing, well, how do you adapt it so that the new generation is as into it? Because they're used to going into nice plush theaters with leather seats that recline and air conditioning. I mean, you're going to have to kind of change up what a drive-in is if it's going to be a big thing, so far as I can see. Where it's not like this is a generation used to that sort of thing. And the novelty might wear off once you're in your car and you start getting hot and the windows fog up, because of whatever you're doing in there, but it's not going to necessarily be as comfortable.
The drive-in, that we go to now, I mean, up until this year, it was always double features. And the last double feature I think we went to see there was Aladdin and Endgame, So it's like 7 hours at the drive-in. But like you set up a whole thing. You put chairs outside, you sit out there. You get all your food and snacks. So like we and usually most of the people don't sit in the car until the second movie when it gets a little chillier, or when you're thinking maybe I don't want to see this, I could drive off in any second. But
how is the sound though? I mean, it's obviously not going to be stereo surround like superphonic shit, right? I mean,
it comes out of the car, so you
Okay.
choose the radio station.
so you better have a good sound system in your car if you want to get.
Or I mean, any radio. You can bring a radio and put it down there, boombox.
Yeah, it's like a shortwave radio type thing to where it'll post whatever channel you need to tune into,
Yeah.
and then you tune it in on your radio in your car or like a boombox or whatever.
The first show, like, we have, we turn with the car. The back of the car is facing the screen. We pop open the back, and some people sit in the trunk because it's one of those hatchback deals. So you're sitting there, and the speakers are shooting out, and we got chairs set up.
Well, I'll give you kind of my prediction about this theatrical thing, and I could be totally wrong. And we've kind of been moving in that direction anyway, but I have a feeling that theatrical film watching is going to be exclusive now to huge movies. I don't think you're going to get a lot of smaller movies in the theater for a while. I think something like Tenet, something like Avengers Endgame, it has to be an event that makes people want to go and see it, with great sound on a huge screen, and get their seats rocking, like literally vibrating in your seat. It has to be an event, I think, really, to draw people out of their houses now. And with COVID and the pandemic and everything, I think all the more that's going to increase, which I'm a little bit saddened by, because frankly, I love seeing movies in the theater.
Yeah.
All kinds of movies in the theater. And I think you can't lose that experience, because there's no way to capture, unless you have money and a great home theater, there's no way you're going to enjoy Avengers Endgame at home the way you would in a huge IMAX theater, or even just a huge, a 3-story screen. Like, I have a place near me that has a huge screen. You go in there, it's not quite IMAX, it's like IMAX mini, but it's fantastic. I went to see, the first movie I saw in there was Interstellar, and I was sitting there watching this going, how do I ever watch this at home? Like, this is such an experience to visually. Every part of this is like made for this screen.
And for a while there, and that's gonna take a good amount of time for like the general movie-going or general public, is that like theatrical release was the high bar you set there. That was the realest movies. Did it open in theaters? Did it play in theaters? Like, then like that's a real movie. And then we were talking about props. My wardrobe from Strangers and Haunt. I was getting some, had my advisors, and the one who I, had to just fucking fire, he was talking about, the Strangers stuff versus the Haunt stuff. And I was like, well, I mean, you get the pitchfork and the whole robe thing. And he said, yeah, but, the Strangers is like, it's a real movie. And I said, what the hell is that supposed to mean? And he's like, I mean, it was in theaters, man. I saw it in theaters with the packed crowd. It was like, it was everywhere for a while. Haunt, I was like, oh, so like, because the Strangers came out in theaters, even though it was crucified when it came out. And Haunt kind of like drunkenly stumbled onto video, Shudder and stuff because of, politics and whatnot, like that kind of, movie politics. And even though Haunt has been, more warmly embraced because of its release, this person considered Strangers a real movie because it opened in theaters. I thought that was interesting. Not enough to keep talking to him, but...
and you were like, you're fired. Get out of here.
I was like, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting.
See, Damian and I had similar experiences. I think he with Haunt and me with Your Next, because we lived through this whole thing of like movie politics, delaying and delaying and delaying the release of a film.
Yeah.
I mean, with my case in Your Next, you know, we shot that, and I don't know when it was, 2011 or something. It was early aughts, and you know, it sat on a shelf for 3 years. It was picked up by Lionsgate, and then promptly Lionsgate bought the company Summit, which was putting out all the Twilight movies and stuff like that. So suddenly Lionsgate had all the Summit's movies to release, so the schedule just got filled with shit, and good shit, you know, but shit nonetheless. And so Your Next fell into that, and it had to await a slot for release. And they kept telling us, well, we want to push this theatrically. We don't want to do direct to VOD or video or whatever. We're going to do it like worldwide. And then it went back and forth. And it was always, well, maybe it is going to go VOD, talking about Your Next. Or, okay, well, no, wait, it's going theatrical. And for over 3 years, you know, as all this stuff was getting shuffled out, we were like, well, we have no idea what's going to happen with Your Next. And then eventually, you know, Your Next was released theatrically worldwide as everyone wanted it to be. Of course, the problem was they had already made, you know, written, shot, produced, and released a movie called The Purge, which came out a couple months before Your Next, and sort of stole the thunder a bit. You know, I mean, I think had we not been pushed back as much as we were, we would have come out long before The Purge, because our film was finished long before The Purge ever shot. So, I mean, that's the kind of movie politics that go into determining the success or failure of a movie. Obviously, Your Next was successful for its budget. Certainly, it was a successful movie. But, you know, being released a couple months late because of a merger or something like that can make a big difference.
But the Purge did well financially, right? I mean, it wasn't reviewed well, I don't think.
The Purge?
Yeah.
No, The Purge did gangbusters financially.
Yeah. I mean, so, you know, sometimes that helps, you know, a thing. You know, like, you know, how, like, when the Fizz facility, the company that put out The Strangers and this Wrong Turn thing coming up, you know, they do a bunch of movies. Then when they found out the Meg was coming out, they fast-tracked the 47 Meters Down sequel. Because they were talking about doing the Strangers sequel and a bunch of other stuff, but then it was like, it's going to be Shark Summer, so we got to get the Shark movie out. And I'm like, Meg, that's going to be shit. Nobody's going to like that. Like, it's going to be nonsense. I read the book. They're like, you know, it's going to make money. We got to get more sharks out there. So, you know.
And when you deal with something like sharks, it's not like there's an intellectual property thing going on there, or asteroids or whatever. Anybody can make a movie about a shark. I mean, the thing about The Purge, I think the only thing that might have affected Your Next in so much as The Purge getting released a few months before is I think people saw the advertising campaign for The Purge and everyone's wearing masks and attacking people in their house. And then they saw Your Next and they're like, oh, people are wearing masks. They're attacking. Oh, so this is a ripoff of The Purge. And you just go, motherfucker, listen, we were done way before The Purge, okay? The Purge was a ripoff of us. But like I say, I mean, it all worked out fine in so much as, and then this movie Strangers Pray at Night comes about, and they're ripping off us. Using the classic music and the guy in the mask.
Don't even joke, because I remember the Pray at Night campaign coming out, and I remember the comments being like, what is this, The Purge? And I'm like...
So The Purge screwed both of us. And then what's ironic about that is people didn't know The Strangers Pray at Night was a sequel. It was like, it's been many years, guys, but I remember seeing the first Strangers.
The distributor, Aberon Pictures, you know, they sat us all down and talked to us. They said, do not refer to this as a sequel. It's a reboot if you have to describe it. You know, don't talk about the first movie. Not because, like, they were ashamed of it, but it was like they were trying to figure out how to position it, because it had been 10 years, and, you know, the little babies, you know, are 10 years older, and, you know, like, they wanted to stand on its own. Like the Strangers, fans of the Strangers will know, you know. But like if they don't know about that, you know, like just give them this. So it's like this whole like attempt to position. But like I remember Johannes and the producer always referred to it as the Strangers 2. And
Yeah.
so it didn't even matter.
Well, that's the odd thing about like the nomenclature of Hollywood. If you notice things coming out like Transformers, subtitle, they're really into those subtitles because they don't like numbers.
Right.
Because once you get to a certain number, the marketing people feel that it's a hindrance to the movie.
Right.
So if you notice, it's like Strangers 2. They're like, no, we can't put a 2 on it. We'll put a subtitle, but we ain't 2 in it, you know. And it's just weird when you get into all these little, you know, nitpicky things that are quite important, you know, in their opinion. And I mean, maybe they are, maybe they know better. I don't know. But yeah, it isn't. It's interesting that like Scream 5, they're going to call it Scream 5. I'm surprised. I'm sure somebody somewhere is screaming about that number. They're like 5. We can't call it that. We need a subtitle. But apparently,
Scream franchise that can pull that off.
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that.
Well, and they've been rolling with it. I mean, they haven't changed any of the other titles. You know, it's always been Scream, Scream 2, 3, 4. So I mean, why change it if, you know, they've ran with it for so long?
Very unoriginal.
And if you notice, you know, there are no other films that have those numbers. Like Scream, I mean, think of anything else. Like you know, what was that movie? Paranormal Activity, you know. They started dropping numbers on those. You know, the new Saw, after a while, they were like, do we have to put a number at the end of this? You know, like the new one is called a totally different Spiral or whatever, you know. So
that's why it's Wrong Turn, the Foundation.
That's right. Yeah, because Wrong Turn is up to what, like 6 or 7?
This would be 7. I don't know. You know, this is another movie that it's a reboot, which is their way of, you know, it's like a long dormant franchise that's flown off the rails. So they're kind of rebooting it. But I mean, like this movie is so different than all the others. Well, you know, you couldn't call it 7.
It's one of those things. I mean, it's like Halloween. You know, you just start over when you do the 2018 one, and then with the new ones, we're not worried about numbers. We'll just put words at the end. Halloween Kills.
I went to the pitch meeting for Strangers 3 for the sequel, and I just walked into the room, and there was a chalkboard, and I just wrote The Stranger, and then I put lines through the S and made it a $, and I walked out.
Boom.
Boom. That's it. And then they never did call me, but
that's the ultimate DMAF mic drop.
Yeah. Stranger. Cha-ching. And then I walked out. And unlike James Cameron, they did not call me back.
Like on the back of your T-shirt, it just says "Call me."
Boom, digits.
Right.
Well, hey guys, one thing just to kind of steer the conversation as we get towards the end.
Yes, we totally derailed this, Marcus. I'm so sorry. We just started going into like our Hollywood bullshit problems.
What were we supposed to talk about?
Time's up.
Time's up. Well, time is almost up for us, but we'll. I mean, I would love to have you guys back on if you guys just want to talk about horror stuff, you know, in general. But one thing I do like to ask all my guests is, what is your favorite Universal monster or Universal monster film?
Great. I love it.
The Invisible Man.
Fuck, you stole mine. Stole mine.
I'm an Invisible Man junkie. I collect Invisible Man things, and I visit Claude Rains at least once a year in his final resting place. It can be yours as well, LC. You know.
I mean, if we have to be honest, it would be The Invisible Man. I did just watch Gods and Monsters last night for the upteenth time, the James Whale biopic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it did remind me of how good Bride of Frankenstein was. I enjoy that movie very much. But I mean, honestly, The Invisible Man is my favorite as well.
Awesome. Yeah, man. And
the Black Lagoon, but Invisible Man's always been my my thing. And H.G. Wells, I'm a big H.G. Wells fan. So
Yeah,
for sure.
I know he didn't really like the movie, but that's too bad.
I mean, H.G. Wells, man, The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
That's a great book. I
Brilliant,
mean,
brilliant author.
The movies have been hit or miss, mostly miss, but the book, man, Island of Dr. Moreau is fantastic.
Yeah. Right on. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add as far as Time's Up goes?
Oh yeah, Time's Up. I don't know.
Go check out the Indiegogo campaign. Yeah, I mean the
unless it airs after it, then pine for your loss.
Right.
I'm sure it'll be running.
No, I think it'll still be.
Anyway, then check out the movie when it comes out. Go to the Time's Up Facebook page or the Twitter or the Instagram, or find us, find all those things, and follow them, and we'll follow you back. We're that kind of operation, and keep up to date. And if you are on here and the Indiegogo campaign is running, go in there and check it out. There's some really there's like cheap stuff on there that isn't cheap in value. There are like cool stickers, one of Groot and one of the poster, and then there's like an on-screen credit for like $25. We just kind of wanted to make it that kind of thing
where it's available. There are things available for everyone,
or just spread the word, because we know it's rough out there, really rough.
Which is huge, if just share away. I mean, and we have great perks. I mean, you can actually add it today, which, will be Friday when we're recording this, but whenever you see it, it will have been on there several days. You can have a walk-on role in the film with a line. I mean,
Wow.
We're offering things that, props, and there's more stuff coming. I mean, we've already...
Huge stars, like, you're in Hollywood, welcome.
Yes. You'll be right there with us. And not only do you get like what you included with the perks, but like we're there. So if you want us to sign things, we're not going to refuse you. I mean, we're right there with you. You're going to be on the set with us. It's a big deal. I mean, and not just me and Damian, but like I say, in various scenes, Felissa will be around, Dave Sheridan, David E. McMahon, who's made quite a mark with many of the movies in the horror genre that he's doing. Teacher Shortage is a new movie that he did. Camara Cole, who is a fantastic actress. Slew of young actors who are, making their debut in this. We should also mention that the music for this film is going to be composed by Alexander Taylor, who did the music for the great Shudder documentary Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, the Mark Patton story. Amongst many other things. He's doing a Western right now with Lance Henriksen.
Should have done this whole thing at the beginning.
Well, you're getting it.
Everyone off 50 minutes later. Where the hell is this?
We're talking about all this stuff about numbers coming after movies, and people are like, what are you guys doing?
I don't want to sit in the theater, drive in, like that stuff. Like, everyone's gone.
It's hot out here. It's hot out in this town. But
maybe I'll make a disclaimer to be like, well, if you want to hear about Time's Up, go towards the end of the episode.
Well, and it's like a trigger. It's like a trigger thing, We can give something away. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. If you stay to the end, now we're committing ourselves to something, Damian. You might have to cut that part out, Marcus.
It's the problem when you get like horror fans or like fans of the subject, on your shows. Like, that's all I want to talk about is like other horror movies and like that type of stuff. So
right on.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say I helped contribute towards the movie, and I really want to see this movie get made, and I hope you guys have great success in this film and in the future.
Thank you, man.
You're the man.
So, as I wrap this up, I will put the link to the Time's Up Indiegogo campaign in the description of this episode and on my social media. Check it out, guys. I encourage you guys to if you love horror movies and you want to see more great horror movies, help contribute yourselves and feel like you're a part of this horror community. I just think it's a great thing myself. So I just want to say thank you
Awesome.
guys for coming on the show. I truly appreciate you guys coming on. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, guys.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And be kind. Oh, you can't read that one. It's not even behind. Never mind. Be kind. Go pine cones. All right.
All right.